Whichever way you cut this, you are a little bit disconnected from the people behind you. If your reason for being in that vehicle is to learn and be inspired, it cannot happen while I'm in the front seat. It's not possible. I can see whether someone is struggling. I can see what they're doing. And that's why we don't sit in the front seat when we go on safari. I so hope I'm wrong, but I almost know I'm not. Hey everybody, so welcome to Friday, nice and chilly in Johannesburg. Now, I wanted to, in this vlog, just have a quick chat about a question that I've had on safari often, my guys have had on safari often. It's made for very interesting discussion points out on safari. And also, recently, I've received this question from online quite a bit, and I think the reason for that is more and more people are doing what we're doing. More and more people are sharing their experiences, so we're seeing a wider snapshot of what's happening out there, you see. Now, the question is, why don't the Wild Eye guys sit in the front of a game drive vehicle when we're hosting safaris? And in my mind, it's pretty clear and simple, but apparently not, because a lot of people ask this question. Now, there's two different types of game viewers. In East Africa, so Kenya, Tanzania, you have the Land Cruiser with a pop top. So it's literally the normal car that's been built up, it's closed, the windows drop down, and the roof pops up. So you can stand up and shoot from the top, right? Or you can sit down and shoot out the side, out the windows. Now, if in those vehicles you look at where the driver of the vehicle is sitting, right, and the open seat next to him. Okay, hold that thought. In South Africa, Southern Africa, you've got the open game viewers, which is basically, again, it's a Land Cruiser, sometimes they still use Land Rovers, where the thing is chopped off and there's 3 rows of 3 seats, or 2 rows of 3, whatever, depending on the lodge, but it's an open vehicle, so the driver sits in the front, slightly raised up, and the people sit at the back, right? Now, I've been in that seat, I've driven that vehicle, I've guided from down there, and whichever way you cut this, and I don't care where in which reserve it is, if you are sitting down there in either of those vehicles, either a open vehicle like in Southern Africa or the closed pop tops in East Africa, you are a little bit disconnected from the people behind you. It's just what it is. You can't argue that. It's a fact. Now, imagine for me, if you're with me on safari in Kenya, right? We get to a sighting. Now, if I was sitting in the front next to the driver, I'm low down, right? Not much place to turn around. Now, you as my guest at the back, you're standing up, shooting out the top. How is it possible for me in the front passenger seat to connect? Don't worry, I'll go for it. To connect with you as the guest at the back. Because first of all, if you're shooting out the top, I'm shooting from the bottom. I've got to turn around. I probably can't even see you where you're standing up at the top. You know what I mean? That's very difficult. More than that is, even if you are sitting in a closed game viewer and you're sitting down, for me to sit in a chair and still turn around and try and teach you something, guys, it's virtually impossible. I cannot add value from the front seat. It can't happen. Now, there is the argument to say, well, I can sit there and I can talk to the local driver guy to make sure he goes to the right place, but why can I not do that from the back? Why can't I, from the second or third row where my guests are, speak openly, not hiding anything from the guests, speak open to the guidance, listen, can you move us here, can you park there? I think the value for me and the guys have been that we've worked, we know what it feels like to sit in that seat, and working with a private guide or a specialist guide like us, rather than trying to argue, it's always not going to work. So we make a point of, when we get to the lodge or to the reserve or whatever, to make contact with our local guide and make them understand that, you know what, we are working together. I'm not going to boss you around. You're the local expert. Let's work together to create the experience. So I don't need to sit next to the driver to kind of listen what's happening. That's not my job. Let the man do his job. Let the woman do her job. So now, there is also the whole thing of the seat next to the driver. Some people consider that one of the best seats to shoot from, because you lower down, you have a lower angle, right? Most vehicles, the seats kind of taper up. So if you're sitting in the front, you've got a better angle. So if you are the paying guest, should one of you not be there? Why would I, as your guide who's paying me to be there with you, take that best seat for myself? And then from there, I cannot physically turn around to help you. Now imagine this. Imagine they say, okay, there's 3 people in a vehicle. Everybody sits down the left-hand side, right? Behind each other. I'm now in the front, then behind. What if you are the second or the third person back and you have questions or you want to show me something? It is not possible because I've got to do some or other gymnastics maneuver to turn around. You've got to lean over. It is not practical. If your reason for being in that vehicle is to learn and be inspired, it cannot happen while I'm in the front seat. It's not possible. The reason as well, I mean, some people on photographic safaris, they're nervous to ask questions because, I get it, you don't want to feel like an idiot, oh, where's this button or whatever. So would you then from the back row shout, hey Jerry, can you help me with this? I don't know where the button is. Or would you feel more comfortable if I'm sitting in the back in between just to kind of pop over and quickly say something? I also, me as the guide, as the expedition tour leader who's sitting in the back of the vehicle where all of my guys always sit, we can see what the guests are doing. We are not obsessed with our own photography in that we have to get the shot first, then worry. We make sure the guests are shooting first. And I cannot do that from the front seat. From the back, in the middle row or the very back row, if I look forward, then I can see whether someone is struggling. I can see what they're doing. Also, I can sit at the back of the vehicle, look at where the guests are shooting. If it's something like Kenya where there's stuff everywhere, right? I can see where the guests are shooting. And if they're all focused here and there's something else happening on this side, I can tell them, hey, listen, Jonathan, there's another shot on this side. Why don't you try that? Not possible from the front seat because I'm disconnected from everything happening behind me. And that's why we sit in the back. I don't think it's a difficult thing. And I mean, we've had instances in Kenya where we had 4 people in our vehicle. So we've got 4 seats in a 9-seater cruiser, right? And the 2 couples want to be together in the vehicle and then we go with them every second day. I was sitting in front and it feels like you're on your own. Because especially in Kenya, the vehicles are kind of dropped down, the front seats are dropped down to where people are sitting in the back. You cannot communicate. You feel so disconnected. So why, if I am going to try and add value to your process and to your photography and to teach you and to guide you and to inspire you, would I sit in the front? It doesn't make sense to me. And that's the reason we decided to sit in the back. Because even on a private guided trip, one-on-one, right? I've had instances with one-on-ones where my client would sit in the front seat next to the driver. I will then sit in the middle straight behind him so I can check and see what they're doing. Flip it around, the value proposition drops dramatically. It really, really does. So that is it. That's the reason. It's nothing, I don't think it's rocket science. I don't think it's difficult. I think it's professional to be able to offer as much value as you can, and whichever way you cut it, you cannot physically do it from the front seat. It's not possible. So let's take the example again. If there's 3 people in a vehicle in an open game viewer in South Africa, the guide will always put them on the one side. I will not sit in the front because the reasoning is we can then move the vehicle so everybody shoots off the one side, everybody has a view. You then sit behind the guests. We sit behind the guests in order so I can check what they're doing and add value. And that's why we don't sit in the front seat when we go on safari. Hope it makes sense. If you have questions or you've seen different stuff, let me know. Send me an email, hit me up on Instagram or social, and let's just chat. I think it's unfortunately, I think a lot of guides, and I use guides, do it for themselves and for their own photography, and they want to sit in the front to get the low angle better shots. I so hope I'm wrong, but I almost know I'm not. Is where it is. That's why, do your homework. Ask the guide, why are you sitting in front? How are you going to teach me from there? How are you going to inspire me from there? How can you see, if I'm in the back row, what I'm doing? And that's why we sit in the back. Okay, I'm going to let it go now. But it's something that we've made a point of. And it's something we feel quite strongly about. Because even though we are in a photographic safari industry, we are a service industry, and that always has to come first. Anyway, I am now going to finish my coffee. There's rugby on, so in about half an hour I'm going to watch South Africa play Japan, and then it's almost the weekend. That's it for now. Guys, have a fantastic day wherever you are. Chat to you in the next episode. Bye.